Hello there lovelies, welcome to this video on a fresh start. Super excited to be here with you today and talk about a fresh start because we are feeling pretty positive right now in Paris and excited to have some freedom again, have some gorgeous hope, some hope in our lives, something to look forward to. And I did see the other day this fabulous mural with the words Nouveau Départ, fresh start. I thought that is so beautiful. This big, beautiful, colourful message. And it's true, you know, we do feel like we are having a fresh start here. So I wanted to talk about the concept of a fresh start today, how we need energy, we need our well-being, and then of course I wanted to talk to you about burnout and my personal story about my 3 autoimmunes. So one of the things I've learned is that if you want to transform absolutely anything in your life and you're wondering why you can't, first place to look is your energy. And if you aren't able to continue, you might start stuff, you don't continue with it, I would look straight to your well-being, because without that great sensation of energy in our bodies, it's very, very hard to make things happen and to show up every day and continue with the things that we believe in. When you're tired, you don't care. You're just exhausted. You know, you're not motivated, you want to lie down, you really can't concentrate, you can't focus, all of the things that we feel and we need when we feel well. So I just want to share with you a little bit about my burnout story. So about 7 years ago, I found myself in a place of exhaustion. I was tired, I was working all the time, I was doing jobs I didn't love, so I was, not inspired with what I was doing, but I just kept doing it for many reasons, and I'll tell you about those a little later in the video. So I got to the point where I hardly ever rested. I didn't have things to look forward to. I just felt this overwhelming pressure to keep going. And one day I found one of my autoimmunes. So the first autoimmune that started to really ruin my life was a thing called Lichen Sclerosus. And I have talked about this a lot on my blog, and I've had a lot of people write to me over the years, and anyone who has written to me, I've written back. And I've had many questions about these different autoimmunes. So I thought I'd share a little bit more about today here, and then further on if you want to keep watching this video. So this autoimmune really started to ruin my life. But like things, we just think that these bodies of ours are sort of like tractors or army tanks, and we just keep going. And so then the next one I found was I had Alopecia Areata, which was big, whole, bald spots in my hair. I didn't actually find it. Somebody found it when I was having a check for my melanoma. And then another doctor hooked it all together and said, well, you probably also have a thyroid problem, so let's check you for your thyroid, and found I had Graves' disease. So by this stage, I was feeling very, very tired and exhausted. I was burnt out emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And it was at the time, it obviously really freaked me out, but at the time it gave me a gift in the garbage. And the gift in the garbage was to stop. So many of the things, the pieces that I had in place at the time were things that there was no joy. There wasn't a lot of joy going on there because I was doing these jobs one after the other to pay the bills. I didn't have any help, so I wasn't growing my business in a way that felt, generous and supportive. So I just felt like I was doing millions of tasks every single day, going to these jobs, just getting enough money to go to the next job, even though, I at that time I had numerous books published, I was working with magazines, but I still hadn't hit that bit where I was really in alignment with what was true for me. So what happened was I pulled up the train crash. I stopped everything. I literally stopped everything. I thought, I can either quit now, photography, or I can do things differently. Because the way I was doing life, there was no way I could continue. I had given it my best shot. I had done everything I could to do as many different things as I could. And I come from a family of doers, so I'd given it my best shot, and I just literally felt like I was falling apart. So the very first thing that I did was I got some help. So I went to a naturopath, and I first of all I started to inform myself about what was the options. I did the good old Dr. Google search, and I realized there was a lot of natural alternatives out there. So as I mentioned to you before, I had a lot of stress in my life at the time. So I went to a naturopath. I got given a whole new way of eating, which I've detailed on my blog. You're welcome to go and see that. But it was a lot of very cleaning up my diet. But what I realized was, which was really important, this has been such an important part of getting energy. So if you want to make a fresh start and your well-being isn't great right now, the very, very first thing I would say to you is to look at the stress, the why behind where you are. Now, I had a belief at that time, and it took me to start my journey into life coaching and to do some work on myself to find out I had a belief that I couldn't have love and money. Now, what this belief kept me from doing was getting help in my business. And I would actually say to myself, and I'd say it out loud, and I've said it out loud a lot of times over the years, is I don't want to turn this into a business. Now, of course, this is all unconscious, subconscious beliefs. I didn't know them till I did the work. So my thing for you would be to look at what is behind the stress. So what this belief didn't allow me to do was get help, didn't allow me to get support, didn't allow me to put systems and structures in place and actually have somebody help me in this business, which meant I could never grow. Every year, year after year, I'd be getting the same result. But more importantly, I didn't have, by this stage, when I got to burnout, I didn't have that that energy to be able to really look creatively and have the space and the perspective to look back on my life and say, what can I do here? Like, what's not going right? I just like, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep going until I was just basically exhausted. So there were many things that had gone on in my life to get me to this place, and one of them, other than my belief about love and money, was also resentment. So again, you can change your diet, and it will help. But what I would say to anybody who's suffering from burnout of any sort is to look also at the emotional stuff. I had lived a lifetime of resentment towards the fact that I had moved to Paris after being taken out of this life I loved in Italy, even though it was my choice to come. My partner wanted to come at the time, and I chose to come along. But there was resentment. And I allowed that resentment to boil and bubble away for years and years and years. And I believe that this was a huge part behind me ending up with these 3 different autoimmunes. So I remember that one day when I came back after being in Australia and discovering this and stopping and breathing and finding out I'm going to do things differently and really committing to this new way of doing things. I came back to Paris. I remember walking out on the street, and for the first time in my life, I felt grateful, true gratitude of being in Paris. And it was incredible, this sensation in my body. I walked out into the street, I looked around, and I lived in the Marais, and I thought, wow, isn't this beautiful? This is amazing. Look at these geraniums. Look at these shop fronts. Look at Mariage Frere with their beautiful teas and the smells coming out. I realized I hadn't been in Paris for the best part of 8 or 9 years. I had been elsewhere. I'd been in the future or in the past. And I had not been present, and I had not been grateful. All those years in Italy, when everything worked for me, like incredibly worked for me, quickly, fast, grace and ease, was because I was in pure alignment with who I was. When I came to Paris, I got out of that. And so reconnecting back to true gratitude, like really, really grateful that I could heal these autoimmunes. I could go and get whatever food I needed. I could have acupuncture. I could have whatever I needed to heal these. Really connected me for the first time. I think, oh my God, I'm so lucky to be here. So I started, and as I mentioned before, anybody who is going to heal their health on any level, you'll need to see a doctor, and you'll need to see somebody like a naturopath or somebody to look after you. So this is my big disclaimer. Don't do what I'm doing. This worked for me. This is my biochemistry, but you will be different, and you will need someone to help you. So the thing I did do is I made enormous changes in my life. Now, some people might just need to make tweaks. I was freaked out for many reasons. And I really knew that if I didn't change this, this would just be my life. So I took it very seriously. And I made big changes in my diet. I gave up gluten, I gave up lactose, I gave up coffee at the time, and wine, and all sorts of other things. But more importantly for me, I gave myself the gift of space and time. And I started to put really clear boundaries around my time, my work, and my weekends. And I made rest as important as everything else in my life. So I'd always been the sort of person, I went to the gym every day, and I was always sort of, I don't want to say the word, but I will say the word, I was like flogging myself. I was working hard, I was, exercising hard, everything was hard. So I started to do the opposite. I started to go to yoga and just to walk every day and to allow that's the sensation of slowing down. Because at the time I also had Graves' disease, which I had an overactive thyroid. So I really felt like I really needed to calm down and get grounded. So looking at the pieces of stress, the beliefs, and then also any big things that I've been holding on to, like the resentment, these were, for me, huge parts. It wasn't just enough to take away the gluten and the lactose and all of the other things that I did. So creating the space was super important. Now, I did another couple of things that I believe were really important as well, is that I reconnected back to joy and creativity. So I started to say no to the jobs that would just give me more money. And when I had a job that wasn't going to support my creativity, I learned about my values. Some of my values were joy, creativity, freedom, curiosity, and I would run the values test, and I'd say to myself, does this support creativity? Is this job going to be a job that's going to feed my creativity? And if it was a no, I would start to say no. So what I started to do was allow space for the good to come in, for the new to come in. And of course it did. Slowly I started getting jobs like Harper's Bazaar that I absolutely loved. Started working with the magazines like Gourmet Traveller, and beautiful jobs that I really, really loved to do and appreciated. Now, another thing I did was I asked myself, what was I missing from the beginning of my photography story? And one of the things was just the pleasure of being in a place and taking photographs for myself. So I allowed myself to go to the beach. I went to the Amalfi Coast. I said, you can go to the beach, Carla, and you can take it, 4 or 5 days off, go down there, do what you want, doesn't matter, no purpose, don't care about it. And I just remember these 4 days of just pure pleasure, taking photographs of the beaches and just the synchronicity and the joy of being in that place and what came in. And I realized when I got back, there is a difference, a huge difference between thinking about doing something nice and doing it. That feeling in my body, I felt like it lasted for a whole year. It was so glorious and joyous. And of course, I end up with pictures I loved, and they end up going to my shop. And I started this whole other evolution of myself, my business, and my life. And of course, what I did was I got help. I started to get people into my business to help me and support me. Just in the very beginning, a couple of hours a week, and then I would start passing off tasks. And what I realized, as soon as I started passing off tasks that I didn't want to do, that I could actually grow my business. So the most beautiful thing was, and then I felt so incredibly well. So all of these things gave me back true, glorious energy that I have been able to put into the last 7 years of my life and create a life that I am supported by, my creativity, my joy, economically, and have the freedom to do and keep creating and evolving as I want. So if you feel like a fresh start and you're currently exhausted, burnt out, tired, demotivated, I would advise you to start with your well-being. Go and see a naturopath, go and see a doctor, go and get all your bloods done, and get something both to work together if you can, often difficult, but start to take charge, take responsibility you for your well-being, and know that you are special. You have the power to bring your health and well-being back into balance. And what I've realized is all of this, when we are unwell, when we have dis-ease, we are literally out of balance. And just to take heart and know it's about bringing your body back into harmony. And it's harmony on all of these levels I've spoken about today. It's creative harmony, it's rest harmony, it's food harmony, it's joy harmony. It's really seeing on a holistic level how your life, where the things are blocking your energy or keeping you trapped where you are. So I hope you've enjoyed this. So as I said, you can read on my blog the different posts about autoimmune, and I hope this has inspired you. I hope if you're having a fresh start, that you start towards bringing whatever you want to life. Okay, wishing you a beautiful day.